Hello everybody, I am the Helpful Witch, and today I want to talk about some interesting things I noticed in the December showcase and a couple of Hogwarts Legacy news. Now, as always, if you enjoy my videos and you want to see more, please subscribe and also leave a comment down below to tell me what you want to see next. Now let's get into the video. Okay, I'm gonna start with one interesting comment that they've made during the showcase, which was actually about the brooms. Now, when talking about the brooms, they were discussing the fact that you can upgrade your brooms, but that brooms technology is still quite behind the Harry Potter times. One of the comments that Alan made was that actually we are more like in the 11s than in the thousands. So what that makes me think is that actually the broom that we're gonna be riding is going to be the Nimbus 11 instead of like the Nimbus 2000 or so on. So I think this is my way to kind of call it, and I want to see if this broom is going to be called Nimbus 11th. Next, another interesting thing that they mention is that when you complete side quests for the shopkeepers, you can unlock more upgrades. So this leads me to believe actually that we're going to be able to unlock not just upgrades but also new items from these shopkeepers. This is interesting to me because I previously speculated that we actually saw the Felix Felicis potion in the potion shop, and I wonder whether that is a potion that we, start the game with, or actually whether this is a potion that we have to befriend the shopkeeper to actually gain access to. So I think this is going to be interesting to see what other things and items we can unlock by doing this side quest, and I actually really like it in terms of game progression, so that you don't get all of the powerful items straight away as you start the game, but you actually can keep increasing the stock of all of these shops as you go through your game. And while we're talking about shops, I found interesting that even though the minimaps is full of icons and things flashing here and there, this potion shop doesn't actually appear in the minimap. I found that very interesting as we have so many icons, yet this potion shop isn't worth an icon. I'm not entirely sure why. I actually think this is more useful to have rather than having all of the secrets or all the puzzles you can unlock in the game shown already in the map. I would rather have the shops being shown in the map because that is something that I could find useful instead of being told already where a secret is going to be. I would rather have the potion shop in the map than a secret, but this is my opinion. But I found it very interesting that with all of these icons we've seen in this minimap, the potion shop did not have an icon. Also, one quick thing about this potion shop is that behind we see another cloud behind the shop. We don't know what these clouds are yet, but we have seen already one of these clouds at the end of the bridge in the first showcase. We still don't know what these clouds do because when we saw it in the previous showcase, we actually walked quite near it, but there was no prompter, there was no way to interact with this, so it's gonna be interesting. There might be a secret if we actually cast the correct spell towards them, but maybe this is one of the things that will be signaled somewhere in the minimap saying, hey, look here, you need to do something with this cloud. I'm not sure, but it was interesting that now we saw two clouds rather than just one. Another thing that they spoke about during the gameplay showcase is about increasing inventory capacity. I found this quite interesting because we have seen those chests right inside of our dormitories, and it's interesting because with the magical bag that Hermione had in the books, I thought they could do something similar to that where we get given or we have one of these magical bags, and so our inventory never really runs out or is already linked with the chests that we have in our common rooms, but instead it looks like we do actually have a finite capacity in our inventory and we'll be able to upgrade it throughout our journey. I find that a bit interesting. I'm not entirely sure how much that is going to impact the game, if we're going to be wanting to rush to increasing our inventory capacity or not. I find sometimes in games it can be a bit frustrating to have very small spaces in your inventory. I like to hoard items, but we'll see how it works out. I just thought it was interesting that they have confirmed that we'll have a limited capacity, but that would be able to be increased. Another thing I found very interesting was the fact that they were talking about that there will be a moment in our story where the world will unlock itself, basically, and we'll be able to free roam wherever we want, even outside of Hogwarts. This is something that I speculated in a previous video because I was talking about how with other similar big open world games such as Legends of Zelda, that is actually has a big tutorial where technically you feel like it's open world already because of the vastity of the tutorial. So even if we had the whole castle to ourselves, it would still feel pretty open. And then once we have completed enough, or we have learned all of the different things in terms of combat and the room requirements and so on, then we'll be able to actually explore off the grounds of Hogwarts. I have speculated this is going to be quite a long tutorial. I would imagine this would take at least an hour minimum, because I think there is just so many different ways to explore Hogwarts and the outside, and different things that we need to learn, from broom flight, care of magical creatures and so on. I'm sure some stuff will unlock as we go, but I definitely think we're gonna have a longer tutorial than usual, and I think once we finish that, we will actually have the open world experience we're all waiting for. Another thing that I found very interesting was that when they were speaking about the day-night cycle, they confirmed a couple of things that we speculated about in my previous videos. If you haven't checked it out already, go and check it out. I have a video about the day-night cycle as well as the seasons, and a lot of the things that I speculated about is actually being confirmed now by the developers. But they were saying about the fact that some items or some quests or some things you will need to wait a specific time of the day or night to actually complete, and that was one of the speculation that we were doing on top of many others, but I won't go into details about them here because I've already spoken about those in another video, so go and check those out if you haven't already. Now, one other thing that I've been thinking about for a while, and I wasn't sure whether to put it in my first video actually, was about the battle arenas. Now, we hadn't actually seen before this gameplay showcase the dark arena. However, I actually think we have seen the other normal arena before. So you will probably be able to see on screen some of the footage that I think is attributed to the battle arena that we've seen before. The game developers have confirmed that there will be 3 total arenas. One is going to be the exclusive ones for the dark arts that you can only get through pre-order or by upgrading your game once you get it, and the other 2 instead will be available for everybody. I think one of the ones that we have seen actually is going to be a battle arena, and it's going to be one of the ones open to everybody, and I think this is what it's going to be. But I wasn't sure about it, and I felt like nobody really cared about the arenas because we didn't really know what they did before, so I didn't put it in my first video, but here it is. I think I'm right, so we will see in February whether this is one of the actual arenas or not. Another thing that the community was right about was the ancient magic meter and ancient magic symbol. This is something that everybody kind of said. I mentioned it also in my reaction to the latest gameplay showcase before this one because they wanted to keep it a secret, but they've been using that symbol so much and we kind of already knew that this is going to be the ancient magic symbol, but they've kindly confirmed that actually this is the ancient magic meter that we'll be able to build up by collecting these blue shards that we see shooting up from enemies around the world. And actually this is something that it happens always, but that we never see because we weren't able to see the ancient magic. But then now that our character can see the ancient magic, we'll be able to pick up and use for our own spells. During this showcase, they've actually talked about the unforgivable curses a lot. I found it very interesting actually, because as I said in my previous videos, I'm not really interested in using the unforgivable curses, but actually something that I thought while watching this video is that I actually think this is gonna make the game a lot easier than if you're not playing the unforgivable courses or dark art path or whatever you want to call it. I think this is actually gonna make your experience a bit more difficult because you're not gonna be able to have those insta kills like they do in this showcase. I want to know your opinion as well, whether you think the unforgivable courses will have more difficult side to the game, whether they will actually make your game more difficult because maybe there will be some consequences by using them, like more enemies for example, or whether that will make the game quite easy. I wonder also whether there is gonna be speedruns about this game, whether the speedruns will actually use the unforgivable curses or not, which is gonna be the spells that are gonna be actually the most effective in killing enemies. I'm not sure, but I actually think it's gonna be the 3 unforgivable curses. Now we're going into the room of requirements section of the video, and a couple of things that I found very interesting. First of all, they have confirmed one of my previous theories, which was that the 2 extra rooms that we see at the beginning as we enter the room of requirements is actually going to be 2 extra vivarium with different environments for different creatures. So that is something that I'm very excited to see. I can't wait to see all of the different vivariums and explore them inside. I'm really looking forward to that. Another thing they spoke about during this section is about the environment and how you can modify the environment. I was super excited as soon as I saw this because I do love being able to customize my environment, being able to change the color of things, change the decorations. I'm really excited for it. One thing that I found quite funny was the tiny chair. I kind of lost my mind on it when I was watching the video for the first time. I found that very amusing. I don't know why, but I did think that it was a bit, I guess, weird that they would include something like making the objects smaller or bigger when the game has already been delayed so much. And now we'll speak about it more in the end of the video about the different release dates now. But I found it very interesting again because I thought this is just so much more work for the developers when they could have actually focused on finishing the game to then get it out sooner. So I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the fact that you can decorate so much. Again, I'm so excited about it, but I just thought maybe we didn't need the different sizing of the objects option and we would have still been able to decorate as much as we wanted and maybe got the game a little sooner. I'm not entirely sure if that made a huge difference, but I definitely think that would definitely impact the optimization of the game, especially across different platforms. So I don't know if that was the best choice of making tiny chairs, but yeah, so that was my losing my mind during the gameplay trailer about tiny chairs. Yeah, how did you feel about the tiny chairs? Did you lose your mind as well? Let me know. I hope I wasn't the only one but yeah, that was my reaction to it. Now, keeping in track with the decorations, they actually made a comment about the fact that a lot of the decoration are purely for decorational purposes, and then they were showing the fact that you can have the auto feeders and so on. But I actually wonder if we will have some items that will increase, let's say, our harvesting speed or our potion brewing speed, or I don't know, the identification of the gear. So whether there is going to be actually some decoration which will have a purpose, not just for the care of magical creatures, but also for other things like potion brewing and harvesting items. I don't know. I thought there is a lot of things that they can do again, kind of like with the loom where you can add some defensive traits or powerful traits to your gear. Maybe you could do that as well with decoration. What do you think? The showcase ended with a very intriguing cutscene, seeing our main character being sucked into a book. I found that very interesting and very telling because my theory about this is that this is actually going to be the book from Merlin, because we have already seen this book from the collector's edition. So we know a little bit about this book, we've seen the art, it doesn't say anything crazy about it, so there isn't a specific page that says you're about to get sucked into this book. But the effect and what it reminded me of was actually when Harry writes in Tom Riddle's diary and then gets sucked in and sees Tom Riddle's memories. So I do think that this would be a good way for them, other than the pensive, to actually be able to see Merlin's memories and see what Merlin experienced without maybe us being able to actually have an impact too much on it, but be able to actually relive Merlin's memories, and maybe we'll see the conflict with Morgana or whoever the other dark evil witch or wizard is going to be, and kind of why these other factions are kind of going against us, or what's happening with the ancient magic, why is it so important. There is going to be a Tom Riddle's diary situation where we're going to get sucked in and we're actually going to be able to see a memory from this book. Now, the last thing I want to talk about very quickly is the release date updates. So I found that very bad to actually change the release dates after you've already started selling the game and selling the pre-orders, especially with what they did with the pre-orders when they were announced in the beginning. I thought all of that wasn't a great show, but I'm not entirely sure. It's very difficult to have a non-biased opinion because I know I'm very privileged. I have actually pre-ordered the game for PS5. I have a PS5, so I'm gonna be able to play it early, as well as being able to play it in the platform that has the extra quest, that has Felix Felicis. So I know that my opinion are gonna be biased regardless, because I know that all of these decisions are actually not going to affect me as much as they will affect everybody else. But my other option was actually going to be playing on Switch, and when a big game gets released like this on Switch, it usually needs to wait a lot of time because the Switch isn't the best platform to play any game. It struggles with its own games, so already I thought a game as big as Hogwarts is never going to be able to be actually enjoyable on the Switch, unfortunately. And this is definitely not down to Avalanche, so I am just unsure about the fact that now all of the different platforms will have different releases. I think this is going to impact a lot of people, and so because this is not necessarily impacting me as much, I actually wanted to ask all of you guys out there, you know, where did you pre-order the game? Are you thinking about changing the pre-order? Did you cancel already your pre-order? Are you thinking about swapping platform? I know a lot of people have access to computers that can run the game maybe at a lower quality, so would you rather play the game on release at a lower quality? Would you rather wait? Do you think there's going to be much difference? What are you feeling? You know, did you choose one of the different deluxe editions for those early access? You know, that I think was what swayed me into buying a deluxe edition rather than just the normal edition. So if I was to play in a platform that is not going to give me that early access, is it still worth it to keep it or to just change it for a different version? I don't know. So I wanted to ask you guys and let me know your experience. I'm sure that this has had a big impact. I hope I've kind of learned their lessons now and that there's not gonna be more delays. And I don't think there will. I think they've said that the game has gone gold, so I don't think there's gonna be a lot of differences that it would all be made, but hopefully it's gonna be playable on release. There is gonna be not as many glitches and it's actually gonna work very well on different platforms as well. But yeah, so these were my thoughts on the latest gameplay showcase, as well as a little bit about the news that have been going around for Hogwarts Legacy. So thank you so much for joining me for another video. I really appreciate you sticking with me and all of the support that you've shown me on the other videos as well. Thank you so much. Again, if you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know what you want to see next, or let me know what you thought of the video. And thank you again, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!